Thanks for joining us for today's episode of The Capitalist Investor. You got Diamond Hands D and what's my name? Iceman Mark? Iceman. What's going on, everyone? Thanks for joining us. D, how you doing today, my man?
You know, not too bad, honestly.
September's the best month of the year, isn't it?
Oh, it's gorgeous. I played one of my good friends, my first friend when I moved to Cleveland, all the way back in 1990, was in town for the long weekend.
Yeah.
Played golf on Monday. It was like sunny and 75 degrees.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just
you can't beat
the best
it,
time
dude.
of the year, man.
I mean, I love September weather in the Midwest, in the Northeast. If you're anywhere north, right? Yeah, you get 75 to 80 degree days. Right, let's say 70 to 80. And then the evenings are just cool enough that you can throw on a hoodie.
Right.
Like go sit fireside or something. Like I love September, man. It is the greatest month ever, by far.
Absolutely.
So now that we're in September, let's talk about what we want to discuss on today's show, which is crypto.
Right.
So crypto, there was some big crypto news out this month, and crypto moved pretty substantially, probably in the opposite direction of what most people would expect. Right. So let me just kind of set the stage here, and then you can chime in here. But basically what happened recently is that El Salvador came out and said that they were going to accept Bitcoin as a legal currency, which should be good, right? I mean, if you think about it, like that should be good for crypto. It legitimizes crypto. It legitimizes Bitcoin. It's being used as a legal tender, all that stuff. However, if I look at my Coinbase account, it's down quite a bit. You know? So Bitcoin did not respond positively to that news. It actually sold off quite a bit. So I think do you have any idea where it was prior to the sell-off? I think it was over 52,000.
Yep, it started the day around 53,000 and plunged as much as 19%. And I think it's banging around the $46,000 level right now.
Yep. So that is a big, big, big pullback. Yep. Not what you would expect when a country decides they are going to use Bitcoin as a legal currency.
Right.
What's your take on this?
So I think the pullback was the result of kind of I don't know if disastrous is the right term, but it was a rocky start. Basically the app, am I saying this right? Chivo wallet, CHIVO. So that's like the Coinbase wallet essentially. That's where you buy your Bitcoins and spend your Bitcoins. That was the app that the government created. That wasn't immediately available in the App Store, which is a problem.
Yeah.
There was protests on the streets. A lot of people are against using Bitcoin as a legal tender, and the country's pretty much divided. There are people who are big proponents of this, and there are people who are really against it. And I don't know how much experience you have, Mark, in trying to use Bitcoin to buy stuff, but there is definitely a steep learning curve that you need to go through before you're comfortable using the crypto.
Yep.
And it's a steep learning curve, man, because I don't consider myself a brainiac or anything like that, but I'm pretty smart, and it is difficult to kind of get used to using, especially at the beginning. We can get into that a little bit, but that there were big problems launching crypto as the currency, and it was a pretty big sell-off in response to it.
Yeah, so I don't know if it was like a buy the rumor, sell the news, if it had to do with glitches with the wallet. Maybe that just shows that maybe crypto's not quite ready. It's a little premature to be adopting it, but maybe there was a bit of a head fake. Maybe this was all the El Salvador news was more bark than bite. Because if you think about it, El Salvador is a very, very poor country, very poor. It is mostly a paper currency country. Like they're not using credit cards. Mm-hmm. They're not paying digitally. They still use cash.
Right.
And Bitcoin, you can't carry Bitcoin around in your pocket.
No.
I mean, it's digital. What percentage of people in El Salvador have a smartphone where you could walk around and like literally use Bitcoin? Like a very, very low percentage, I'd assume.
I honestly, I tried to find some numbers on all that stuff. I could not. But yes, between the, availability of the internet and how many people have smartphones in a country like El Salvador, it seems like that would be the number one problem right away.
Yeah. So look, Bitcoin and crypto overall are very volatile. Okay. But if I were to live in a country where they did not have a stable currency, and I haven't done any research on El Salvador's currency, I don't even know what it is.
They don't have one.
So what do they?
They were using the US
dollars.
Dollar. Yep.
All right. I was in Argentina, Buenos Aires. I think that in like 2013 or 14. Mm-hmm. And if you know anything about the Argentine peso, it crashed before. And then, so I was down there with my wife in 2013 or 14, and people were literally trading dollars for pesos and vice versa on the black market. Mm-hmm. Like you'd go to a corner and someone would have like a duffel bag of cash.
Right.
And you would exchange it there, and the exchange rate was better than if you would do it the legitimate way.
Right.
And then when we came back home, and I think we flew in through Houston, I still had, I don't know, maybe $1,000 worth of Argentine pesos in US dollars in my pocket. Mm-hmm. And I went to go and trade them, and I forget exactly what happened, but maybe it was too late at night for me to exchange them. They weren't willing to hold that currency overnight, so I couldn't exchange them. And lo and behold, the currency tanked again a couple months later. Mm-hmm. So, if you live in one of these poor countries, as volatile as Bitcoin is, it might be safer than your local currency.
Right.
Which is weird. Mm-hmm. Is it safer than the US dollar? No, it's not. It's definitely a risk-on asset. And that's something that I was asked about on Varney's show this morning. Mm-hmm. If the stock market pulls back, you think Bitcoin's going to go up or down? And my response is, well, I think it'll go down because it's a risk asset.
Right.
Right. So I find it very, very, very interesting that, and I would expect more countries with unstable currencies to probably go the route of El Salvador. Mm-hmm. And begin to accept Bitcoin as legal tender. The issue is, like, do people have the iPhones and the smartphones to be able to even use that currency in the first place?
Right. And apparently they do. But that was one of my biggest takeaways from researching for this show today. It is a good, it's a start. I don't know if it's a good start, but it's definitely a start. It's definitely breaking down some barriers for sure, right? But what you said is exactly right. Countries like El Salvador, them adopting Bitcoin as a currency and even their national currency, it makes a lot of sense, at least in theory. So we need to be watching to see if other countries are around El Salvador and in that, kind of Latin America area, who are all very similar, sociologically and financially too. What is going to be the catalyst that takes us from where we are right now, kind of almost experimenting? It's kind of like a beta test right now. What needs to happen to take it up to the next level where multiple countries are using it? And if you can break those barriers, it would be a groundbreaking thing, and I think a really good thing. Can you imagine all those countries just having one currency, trading on your phone? I mean, it sounds great, but will it happen, and how long will it take? That's my second big question, is from where we are right now, how long is it going to take for other countries to adopt this and have it be successful?
Okay, and then how hard will the U.S. fight against it? because the dollar is the reserve currency of the world, which gives us a lot of benefits.
Right.
As soon as you don't need the dollar anymore as the reserve currency, because any currency can be readily converted into crypto, like we lose our advantage. We lose, not all of it, but we lose some of our advantage, don't you think?
Absolutely. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's why, I would think the U.S. does, wants to stand in the way of the rise of crypto.
Right.
Without a doubt. Let's pivot for a second, and we can come back and talk more about this. But while we're on the topic of crypto, Tony recently wrote a blog on how to buy NFTs, and,
right.
and we're talking about having Spray on here to do a little show about it. But I heard last week, and I'm super excited about this, dude, because I don't want to carry a wallet anymore. All right, so I heard last week that Apple is finally going to have a way to allow you to have your ID on your phone.
Right.
Driver's license, your state ID, whatever it is, to have it on your phone. Now, Apple is using like facial recognition to verify that ID. There were some questions and concerns about the privacy behind that. Like, do you really want Apple to have access to that? Are you giving them too much information? What if they get hacked? Stuff like that. And that led me to once again question why aren't we using NFT and Ethereum technology to get driver's licenses and IDs on people's phones? I mean, that would make sense to me, right? Because
absolutely,
with an NFT, you know that is the only one out there. You know it. There's a technology behind it that will verify that is the only painting or whatever it is that you own. Digital painting, obviously. So it has me wondering, like, why is Apple just using facial recognition? Why not the NFT technology?
I completely agree. And I would say probably right now because it's too complicated. Is really my only answer. But yeah, so we will get into, probably at least a couple shows because it takes a while to explain it to people.
It does.
And you have to get through some laughter as well. People paying, $1.5 million for, a picture of a rock.
That's crazy.
is pretty crazy. But yeah, that what you said right there, that is exactly what this blockchain technology that everyone's been talking about for 5 years is really all about, right? It provides secure, encrypted is the wrong word, but you get basically everything out there, whether it's an NFT or a picture of your driver's license, has its own unique code.
Yep.
So that's part of what makes it complicated, but also what makes it really, really secure. So that would be, and what you said right there as well, the applications are virtually unlimited to what you can do with it.
Right. And the key is, so a couple of things I want to mention. Number one, facial recognition is imperfect. Whenever there's a picture of my oldest daughter posted on Facebook, it wants to tag me.
Right.
Right. Like, it is imperfect. And that's understandable. But the second thing is, without an NFT technology, you're going to run the risk of people having counterfeit driver's licenses, right? I mean, man, I wish it was that easy when we were 20 trying to buy beer,
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it wasn't that easy. Like, I mean, I thought I did the best job possible, trying to do a little Photoshop work, but it wasn't as easy as just snapping a picture, man, the game has changed, dude. The game has changed. So, I kind of pivoted away from our Bitcoin discussion around El Salvador because I think crypto overall is going to play a bigger part in our lives. Dude, I love using Apple Pay. Have you started using it?
Absolutely.
Like, it's amazing. I pull out my phone, I double click it, it looks at me, and boom, I put my phone right in front of the credit card machine, and I'm done.
Yes.
It's a beautiful thing.
Totally awesome.
Beautiful.
Yep.
I would love to have my ID on there too, right? And there's probably got to be a way for the ID to be used like via Apple Pay, like in a manner like that where you're not handing your phone across to someone else where they're actually physically touching it, right? Because we're living, everything is moving towards contactless. So it would probably be something where just like your iPhone is scanned for Apple Pay, it would be scanned for your driver's license, and boom, it would pop up with your date of birth, and you're old enough to buy beer or whatever.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to that because I'm sick and tired of carrying around a wallet.
Yeah, me too.
I'm pretty much done with it. What do you think is next for Bitcoin? Given that it ran up pretty nicely over the course of the last 60 days or so. A third world country essentially is adopting it as legal currency, and the thing just kind of sold off. Like, where does Bitcoin go next?
It almost seems as it gets out there more, as more people are talking about it, as it has more applications, like in El Salvador. It almost seems like the more that happens, the more the problems come up. Yep. And are brought to light, because there are still lots of problems. In my opinion, the biggest problem are the fees involved. So, we've talked on the show before about Amazon, maybe one day accepting Bitcoin or other cryptocurrency, and when that happens, it's going to be a huge, bump up in the price of Bitcoin. And I agree with that still, but right now, I don't really have a huge incentive to pay my Amazon bill with crypto.
Yeah.
Because I have to buy crypto with US dollars, and it costs money to do that.
Yep.
Whereas if I can put it on my credit card, there's no fees to do that, and I get, benefits for my credit card.
Yep.
So, the volatility we already talked about, that's going to be an issue for a while. Obviously we're primarily dealing with retirees and pre-retirees. Can you imagine, getting ready to retire and you got, $150,000 of cash that you've saved up over the last 10 years to be your frontline spending, and, day one of your retirement is worth 20% less. That is a big problem as well. And I think some of those issues are just getting a little bit more attention.
Yep.
So yeah. Bitcoin as a primary legal tender for a country, it's great to think about. But when you get into the details and it actually rolls out, there are problems with it still.
Yeah, I agree.
So from here, I don't know where the price goes from here, but I think the next shoe to drop, as I mentioned earlier, if more countries, so if El Salvador gets through all these issues and comes out the other side, and more countries start adopting it, I think that is when you'll see a big bump up in the Bitcoin and crypto market.
Yeah, and that, I've said this before, but if Amazon were to begin accepting payment, Bitcoin, if it's around $50,000 now, it would definitely be over 100,000 tomorrow. Maybe 200,000 if Amazon were to begin accepting payments. I think the ride for Bitcoin and crypto is going to be bumpy. Lots of peaks and valleys. It's a volatile asset class. It is a risk asset. But I do think in the long run it goes up.
Yep.
I really do. Obviously, there are some regulatory headwinds. There's a taxation headwind. So there's a lot of headwinds that lead me to believe, a lot of the easy money's been made. I don't want to say all the easy money. I think there's still tremendous upside. What's my target on Bitcoin? I don't know. I mean, 5 years from today, it wouldn't surprise me if it were trading at over 200,000 a coin 5 years from today. And that's 4x where it's at right now. It could trade even higher than that, and that wouldn't surprise me. I don't think Bitcoin goes to zero. I don't think that's ever going to happen. I think there's a lot of money in there at this point, and people use it. They are using it.
Oh yeah.
Right. So I think this just kind of reiterates something we've said before, D, which is own an amount that you're comfortable with it essentially going to zero. Right? Maybe that's 10% of your portfolio. If you're close to retirement, maybe it's 3 to 5%. Maybe it's 1%. If you're 22 years old, maybe it's a third or half, right? I mean, it depends on how much risk you're willing to take. But I think you need to own enough that you'd get excited if it 3Xs or 5Xs or 10Xs. But you're also not going to lose your lifestyle if it goes to zero. And I think that's the key.
Yep, for sure. And I'm still dollar cost averaging into it, like we talked about before, just buying a set amount each month.
Yep.
And I've bought a couple times on the dips too. I saw your tweet yesterday. Not adding huge dollars, but when it dips down, I usually throw a few more bucks in there.
Yeah, and I've started to branch out from Bitcoin. So I haven't bought a lot of Bitcoin recently. I now own more Ethereum than Bitcoin. A lot of that just has to do with Ethereum rising faster than Bitcoin over the last couple of months. But I've also branched out into Polygon and Polkadot.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I've got a couple buddies who are quote unquote crypto gurus who know a lot more than I do. And one said buy some Poly, and the other one said buy some Polkadot, and I'm branching out, dude. I'm branching out.
I'm gonna go buy some Polkadot right now.
Any final thoughts, my man?
No, but it's definitely an interesting ride, man. It's come a very, very long way, and I'm very excited to see how it unfolds.
Yeah, buckle up, baby.
Yep.
All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us for today's episode. As always, if you have questions, shoot us an email, info@swpconnect.com. Hit that subscribe button. Leave us a rock-solid 5-star review and write us a little message, and then we'll get you some swag down the road. As always, thanks for joining us. Talk to you next week.
The opinions expressed in the podcast are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any investment, legal, financial, or tax strategy. It is only intended to provide education about the financial industry. Please consult a qualified professional about your individual needs.